Herzlich willkommen zu einem neuen Video. Heute sind wir auf dem Splügenpass und hier ist das British Classic Car Meeting. Sprich, die Fahrzeuge kommen gleich da hinten über die Straße, über den Splügenpass und fahren dann weiter Richtung zurück nach St. Moritz, wo ich sie dann auch noch versuche zu filmen. Aber jetzt schauen wir da unten auf der Straße und passen die Autos natürlich von hier direkt auf der Passstraße ab. So Leute, das war die beste Pizzeria, etwas südlicher von Chiavenna, Pizzeria Muiá. Ich verlinke sie in der Videobeschreibung und wir fahren jetzt Richtung St. Moritz über Maloja Pass und dann hoffe ich, dass ich die ganze British Classic Car Rally dann dort beim Empfang auch filmen kann.
Maloja. Jetzt haben wir die Höhe erreicht vom Engadin und es geht einfach nur noch geradeaus auf derselben Höhe bis nach St. Moritz.
seine Winde für Kitesurfing und Windsurfen. Das wie im Sommer, auch im Winter wird hier Kite gesurft. Das ist jetzt der Silvaplanersee. Wie ihr seht, wird hier kräftig Wind gesurft und Kitesurfing betrieben. Also Windsurfen und Kitesurfen. Wir haben St. Moritz erreicht, allerdings unten beim See. Ich weiß nicht, wie gut dass man jetzt so die einzelnen Häuser sieht, und wir haben ja halt dichten Verkehr. Deshalb ist es nicht so spannend, wahrscheinlich die Straße zu filmen. Trotzdem will ich euch möglichst viel von St. Moritz zeigen. Aber ich gehe jetzt einfach direkt ins Parkhaus, was ich normalerweise nicht machen würde in St. Moritz, weil es gibt da auch gute, günstigere Außenparkplätze. Aber man muss sie natürlich finden und sie müssen frei sein, was nicht immer der Fall ist. Und jetzt hier links, genau, hier gibt es ein Parkhaus, aber man muss jetzt einmal um den Kreisel rumfahren, wie es so scheint. Direkt hier ins Parkhaus. Von diesem Parkhaus kann man direkt übrigens hier über die Brücke an den See oder eben hoch ins Zentrum. Brisbane. So, wir sind hier am Start und Ziel von der BCCM, British Classic Car Meeting in St. Moritz. Und wir sehen gleich die Autos vorbeifahren.
Was the Bentley version of the Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud 3 that we see here. This explains why the same chassis is on these two cars, and it's exactly the same chassis. One car is a Bentley, one car is a Rolls-Royce. This is an Austin Healey 3 liter, a Mark III, a very sporty car, making an Austin engine and a Healey chassis. And this is obviously a very sporty red Fiat Panda. 4x4, a big cheer of applause for the Panda. And this is a car or a trike or however you want to explain. It's a Morgan. Morgan made three-wheel cars with motorcycle engines. This is one of the later cars with a Harley Davidson engine. As the post-war Aston Martin, the DB5 that everybody knows because it was used in very many James Bond movies. Thank you very much for bringing this beautiful car. The DB5 was derived from the DB4 and it was evolution of the DB4 design, which was by Touring Superleggera of Milano. Another MGA, as you see, with the luggage in the rack in the back, as I said before. This gives you probably a 100% or more increase in luggage space because the hood was filled with the spare wheel. Now, who doesn't love a Mini? Everybody loves Minis, and this is obviously a very special Mini. It's the Cooper S, and the Cooper S was a very, very sporting racing Mini, and it had a special, very powerful engine, and they won everything they could on the track, in rallies, and as we can see from this car, it won the Rally Monte Carlo 2 or 3 times. In fact, one year the French didn't like the idea, so they disqualified the Mini with an excuse, and they gave the victory to a Citroën, but everybody knew that the winner was the Mini, and in fact the PR was much in the favor of the Mini rather than the Citroën, so it was a bad move for the Rally Monte Carlo organizers. This car too was designed by a non-British, a guy called Koren. I think he was from Sweden or Finland or something like that, from up there. And it was the first Rolls-Royce with a straight line on the side, and they did it because they were already working on the Silver Shadow that would come out 2 or 3 years after this, and so they paved the way for this new model. A few more E-Types because we were E-Type sick. Now we didn't see one for at least 3 or 4 minutes, and we needed more. 3 Series 1 cars. This is a 3.8, so an early car. Very few details to tell a 3.8 from a 4.2. This is a 3.8 with right and drive. This is a 4.2 with left and drive. And another 4.2 here with a beautiful opalescent gray paintwork. No, this is a 3.8, I'm sorry. With a ladies' T. MGB. As I said before, the MGB came after the MGA. And this is the start of the Bentley saga. This is one of the very early Bentleys. Most probably a 4.5 liter. Good. And it shows the kind of body that the cars that were running at the Le Mans 24 hours, and Bentley won Le Mans many times, and there they made their mark and became known as a sporty and durable autocar. This is another Bentley from the 1990s, a Continental R, a very beautiful car, very sporty but very elegant, and was a very exclusive coupe for grand touring. Minis have been one of the most important brands in the BCCM history, and we always had many Minis. This is a late 6-cylinder model, creation of this typical British way of doing things by putting together pieces from different sources. So the engine was an Austin, the car was designed by Donald Healy, and some of the mechanical parts were taken from different manufacturers. This is a later Range Rover with 4 doors. The early ones had only 2 doors, and as the model went on, it became more and more luxurious. The first ones were very simple because they were intended to be used by more affluent country people. We go back to Triumph here with this Spitfire. Spitfire was a small sports car, and this is a 1500, so one of the late Spitfires. And if my memory serves me well, it's the car that won last year a prize in the BCCM Concours. This is another oddity. It's a very rare Alvis. Alvis was another specialist brand in England, and this is one of their latest creation. And Alvis also had a very strong link with Switzerland because many of the cars were bodied by Carrosserie Graver, and they also were importing the cars into Switzerland, and many were sold in Switzerland. So this was a very good market for Alvis, and Alvis was just making very few examples. So when you were selling maybe 5 Alvis a year in Switzerland, that was a big number for a company making maybe 300 cars or something. This has a Parkwall body. Parkwall was a company that was mainly working for Bentleys and Rolls-Royce. It was actually owned by Rolls-Royce, later merged with Maliners, and in fact the later Rolls-Royce and Bentley cars were known as Maliner Parkwall. Another Triumph, this was the biggest Triumph, and it's called the Stag. It was very modern for the time, cabriolet with a T-roof, called a kind of roof that was, you could open but still had a structure underneath that was for safety. And would the owner please note that the boot is open. These are 2 Corniche. This is a Corniche drop-head coupe, a later car, probably 1980, 82, something like this. While this is the well-known version, a little more special because they were built in very small numbers, is this 2-door saloon or coupe, brought by Mr. Morella, who won the Best in Show last year with another Rolls-Royce. Thank you, Mauro, for this beautiful car. And this is a car for somebody who didn't need exactly the 4-door saloon body, but still wanted 5 seats and a sportier look. Obviously, it was handmade and costed twice as much as the saloon. Here is the Aston Martin DB4 we were talking about before. This is the start of the James Bond saga, but it's the real design by Milano Superleggera Touring, and it was then moved into the DB5, which is a bit longer, a bit bigger and heavier. So this is a much sportier car. Thank you very much for this beautiful DB4. Another Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud, in this case Silver Cloud 2, I think, and with a special drop-head coupe body. It was called an adaptation because Rolls-Royce itself, or rather Maliner Parkwall, was in fact taking a saloon and turning it into an open car. Thank you very much, beautiful car. Look at the colors, how stylish. MGTF. This is the end of the T series of the MGs, so just before the MGA we saw before, and in this case the luggage rack you see in the back is not because the boot didn't have enough room, but because there was no boot at all. So you had to strap your luggage on that thing. Another E-Type, another Series 1, 3.8, 62, 63, and this is really a car that changed the world of sports cars in the very early 1960s. It's the third iteration of this line, and as the Mark 7 was not ready for the London Motor Show, they said, okay, let's put together a sporty body on the shorter chassis, and that's how the XK 120 was born. And then in due time the Mark 7 came out. It's a big saloon, as you can see, but a very sporty car because it's the first Jaguars, the XK 120 and the Mark 7. First Jaguars that had the beautiful 6-cylinder XK engine that was to be used by Jaguar until, in fact, until the 1990s. That engine was used in racing cars. It won Le Mans 5 times. It was used in limousine, funeral cars, saloons, everything, and was a fantastic engine. The next engine for Jaguar was the V12, of course, and we have a great example here. The V12 was launched again in the sports car, in the E-Type, as you can see it here, in 1971. And this was a deliberate choice by Jaguar because they said, we put the new engine in a sports car. The sports car owner is more adaptable and he is a kind of an enthusiast, so if the engine will have a little problem here and there, they would be nicer than somebody who drives the saloon every day. So they use the E-Type owners as testers for their V12. But what an engine it was, and this is a great car. Thank you very much for bringing it here. Lovely car. And this, please don't ask me. This is one of the most beautiful cars ever made. I don't know if I've said that before. I would still say that a number of times. And I happen to be a loyal E-Type enthusiast myself, and this is a 4.2 with a beautiful dark green color, and this is a Bentley S3. It's the Bentley version of the Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud 3. The end for Rolls-Royce, the end of the classical period of the separate chassis. It's a car with a twin cam engine. Again, I will not go too much into technicalities, but the distribution of the engine was a bit more sophisticated, so it had more power. It was a bit more delicate, but it had lots more power and the car was sportier. XK 120, this is the car as the world saw it in 1948, as I said before, as a stopgap model who make sure that people waited for the new Mark 7 saloon. And here we have another Land Rover. Land Rover was a car again that you could order in many different ways. Longer, shorter, open, closed, 2 doors, 5 doors. You could really choose whatever you wanted. And this is a station wagon kind of Land Rover. It has the tropical roof, which is a double roof, so that when there was very hot and the sunshine was very warm, and the first clear green colored roof would make shade on the other rear roof, and so that in theory allowed the inside of the car to be a bit cooler. This is in fact a 120, an XK 120 coupe. The first 120 was a roadster, and then they made this coupe, and you can see that the roof of this car is very similar to the big saloon that we saw a few minutes ago, the Mark 9, and it's exactly like that because this car was made at the same time as the Jaguar Mark 7. and this type of roof was a signature for Jaguar for the first years after the war, the 50s and early 60s. That was really the golden era of the British pop culture. This is another Austin Healey Mark III, the 3-6-cylinder. And this is another Aston Martin V8 Volante. Volante is the name that Aston Martin always used for their open versions. And so when you pass from Samedan and you see the garage Volante, you know where they took their name from. And this open version was launched in 1983 or 84. I cannot quite tell you if it's a Mark 6 or an R-Type. An R-Type? Mark 6. So this is the very first car that Bentley made after the war. It is also the first car that Rolls-Royce made complete car. Not just the chassis, but also the bodywork and everything. And it's a fantastic car. I've had an R-Type just like this. And I still dream of that car. It's beautiful, it's very fast, very nice to drive, very comfortable, and you can find one for not a lot of money, so enjoy it and find a good one and buy it. Thank you. And of course we have seen before the Rolls-Royce version, the Silver Dawn, with the special features by Harold Bradford that maybe you can see tomorrow during the concourse. Here's a Rolls-Royce thank you. Jaguar E-Type Series 2 and with a sage green color, and this is an XK 140 Roadster. You can see the Roadster. It has a separate, and in fact it's detachable windscreen. You can take that off and put some little aero screens if you want to go faster or need more buttons. The windscreen is fixed, is part of the body of the car, so you cannot take it away. And this is because it has a completely different arrangement of the side windows as well. The Roadster has no side windows, and the Drop and Coupe has side windows, and obviously a much better and padded hood. That when it was the roof was closed, you had a much better insulation. E20. This is a car that was conceived in the 1990s by a group of technicians at Jaguar Cars, and they were doing all the work after hours. They did not have the agreement of the management, and so they, after they finished work, they met in a secret workshop, and they were working on this project. It's called the Jaguar XK 220. Because it was planned to go at 220 miles an hour. Incidentally, this is exactly what happened with the XK 120 that was launched in 1948, and it was a car that was able to do 120 miles an hour. That at the time was a very, very fast maximum speed. In recent years it has been restored, and as the body was totally beyond repair, they put a sporty body on it. Of course, a car like this is a lot lighter than originally, and so it's a lot more fun to drive because you have a little more than the chassis, and instead of having probably 800 kilos of bodywork, you have probably 200 kilos of bodywork.
Das war dieses letzte Fahrzeug vom British Classic Car Meeting in St. Moritz 2023 und wir verabschieden uns jetzt und sehen uns an einem nächsten Anlass. See you, bye bye.